banh mi is the perfect sandwich. It's all about balance. From the bread to the spread to the pickles to the fresh herbs and veggies, all of those work together as a symphony to create the perfect sandwich. So we're gonna show you how to make the ultimate banh mi at home. I've been kind of tinkering with this project for 2 to 3 years now. Been working with friends on it, but we've been really trying to develop and create the perfect bread. The spread, the pickles, and the pâté. We thought those were the key parts to making a perfect banh mi. I've been talking to my friend Helen Nguyen, chef of Saigon Social in New York. She's very passionate about banh mi. She's been helping me define perfection. After chatting with her, I'm gonna see how close I can get to that perfection of making the ultimate banh mi at home. Hey Helen, good to see you again.
Likewise.
Where are you right now? Are you in your car?
Yeah, I'm across the street from the restaurant because we're in the middle of service, and I figured it's best to take the call from the car across the street.
Yeah, chef life. Oh gosh, do we know that one? So we've talked in the past about this banh mi project. I've been kind of tinkering with friends during the pandemic when we couldn't go out and find bread or go out to restaurants. And we've chatted and you've been able to give me some guidance, but I thought, because I'm rounding the corner right now, and I would like to get this on chefsteps.com, but I want to do right by everybody and make sure it's authentic and it's a recipe that's great at home. You know, if you don't have access to a Vietnamese American community where those ingredients and the quality banh mi is available.
Absolutely, especially here in New York, trying to taste that, that same consistency, texture, and experience like you do in Vietnam, and also with the places that we're very familiar with on the West Coast. It's very hard to find something like that here.
So where we left off last time, I just want to make sure I haven't deviated from what perfection is with the bread. Could you talk about the crust and the interior texture?
So the crust should be thin, crisp, and very delicate, right? So basically, if you were to give it like a really gentle squeeze, you can hear the crackling sound. And then in terms of inside, it shouldn't be too dense. It should have a nice bouncy texture. I like to think of it like a Haagen-Dazs ice cream bar. You have that chocolate coating and then the vanilla ice cream inside. When you take a bite into it, it's very delicate and it just basically falls apart. That's kind of like the texture that you would want to see in a banh mi.
So like the spreads, I know there's so many different variations of banh mi out there, but is there typical condiments that you might find across the board or most common?
I think the non-negotiables are the mayonnaise and the pâté, pork liver. Sometimes people use chicken liver, but in terms of taste, I think the way to go is really just pork because it just hits differently,
Can we talk about the meats?
So many different variations. I think that, the most common one is the jialuo, which is kind of like the ham. And then there's head cheese. So there's a lot of different variations of head cheese. Some people will just use the whole head of the pig. Some will just use ears. Some will just use pork belly mixed with, wood ear mushrooms. For the siu mai, it's usually a mixture of ground pork. I know growing up, my family used to make it with jicama. Sometimes I don't have jicama, so then I would substitute it for daikon. Because it's so delicate and so tender, you just use it kind of as a spread, right? So you pick it up as a ball, and the minute it hits the bread and, just apply a little bit of pressure and it starts breaking apart, and then you can use it as, as a spread. But the whole point of having a banh mi is just like the different layers of like the mayo, like the pickles, the pâté. And if you omit all of that, then it's just really a meatball sandwich without, it's still really good. But I think with the siu mai, it's very important to be able to taste all the other condiments that kind of come along with it as well.
Awesome. Okay. When you say pickle, is there a certain variation that you're most commonly referring to? Is that the daikon and carrot?
It's usually just the daikon and the carrots. They have to have like that nice, acidic, sour punch, but then also still be sweet and tangy, and it has to be crisp. So you don't want to cut it too thin. You want it to be thick so that when you're biting into it, you can not only taste it, but you could also hear it, as you're biting into it.
Do you find other herbs as well, like maybe mint or types of basil?
I think that the mint and the basil, they both are very strong and very distinct in flavor. It's usually just the cilantro. There might be different variations in terms of, of chili, because obviously in Vietnam, we don't use jalapeno. It's any kind of sauces that we make, jalapeno is almost never present. It's a different, variation of chilies. Okay, well,
I'm gonna take that challenge and see if I can incorporate the pork pâté with it, the mayo, the pickles, the cucumber, the jalapeno, with just like perfectly steamed sumai. And let me give that a try, and let's connect back and I'll let you know where I landed with it.
Great. Looking forward to it.
All right, to kick off this bread, we're gonna start off with the first step, which is the autolyze. It's a process that can take anywhere from 30 minutes to maybe 4 hours. What's happening is the enzymes in the flour, when combined with water, are gonna start to alter the proteins in the starch. The starch is gonna begin to convert to sugar, so when you add the yeast, that's gonna give more food, which is gonna boost the fermentation process. In a stand mixer bowl, we're gonna add our water, room temp, add our yeast, our sugar, give this a little mix, add our flour. You want to use a flour that's around 12 to 14% protein. So this is going to be a short mix for about 1 to 2 minutes. What you're doing is you're just going to want it to come together as a shaggy mass, and then we're going to set it aside covered. All right, there you have it. It's about 1 to 2 minutes, shaggy mess. We're going to cover this up and let it sit for a minimum of 30 minutes. So we're going to be doing equal parts daikon radish to carrots. So the daikon, though it's going to have that crunch, it's going to be slightly funky, tiny bit bitter, yet a little bit sweet, where the carrot is going to be very crunchy, very sweet. So the next part of the process is salting the vegetables. And so once we give them a good mix, we'll transfer them to the fridge for about 30 minutes or so. While the vegetables are in the fridge, let's get together our brine. The vinegar I like to use is distilled. We're going to add sugar, a little bit of water. So we're going to add a little bit more salt. Just give it a little whisk. Check this out. Look at how much moisture came out. We're going to strain that away, give it a quick rinse, pat it dry, and then submerge it in our brine. Now we're going to finish mixing the dough. It's been 30 minutes after our autolyze step. Salt, butter, it's going to help make it more tender. Our last ingredient is ascorbic acid. This is going to support the gluten development. So this is a cost-effective way of making large loaves of bread faster. We're going to mix this for a total of 6 minutes. Every 2 minutes, we're going to scrape down the sides so that way all the ingredients we just added are evenly incorporated. Look at that. It's already starting to get shiny. The butter's been incorporated. So if you skip the autolyze step, normally the mixing will take about 15 minutes. So even though you're losing 30 minutes at the beginning, the mixing is faster and a little bit easier. I like to just give it a little bit of a fold. Just want to make sure it's evenly incorporated. Another 2 minutes. It's getting shinier. It's very smooth, elastic. We'll call it more like tacky. It shouldn't be very sticky. Last 2 minutes. All right, so it's been a total of 6 minutes of mixing. Look at that. Beautiful dough. So it's shiny, it's very elastic, smooth. Smooth is the most important quality that you're looking for. All right, so we're gonna transfer the dough to a smooth working surface using a knife, bench scraper. I'm gonna eyeball the first one. Let's see. So to prevent the skin from developing, we're gonna keep these covered as we portion. So one thing to note is be a little bit thoughtful of when you're adding more dough to get to your target weight. Put it in one spot of the dough. Reason being is when we go to shape, this is going to be our top side of the ball that you'll see in a second. I included an extra portion in this recipe because it's probably a new technique for a lot of you. That way you have an extra one to practice with. So if you mess one up during the formation later on, just swap out your worst looking one for your favorite one. So this is fun. This is my favorite part. This presentation side facing forward. We're going to make kind of a circle with our middle finger and our thumb. And using our thumb, index finger, you're going to push it through. Getting a nice taut surface to the ball. This is the same technique used for dinner rolls. It's a technique used very commonly in baking. Okay, so you have your pinched bottom. So we're going to take the ugly end, slap it down, pinky on one side, thumb on the other. We're going to do a rolling motion, going in a circle. This technique might not come natural to you. An easier way to learn the motions is with your pinky on one side, you're going to push it to the left. We're going to make a square. So we're going to use our middle finger, pull it down, right, up, left, down, right, up. This is a really common technique all throughout baking. And this is how you make dinner rolls. There you have it. We have 7 portions all balled up. They're spaced out on a grease tray about 2 inches or so because they're going to relax during the first proofing process, and it's going to closely double in size. So we're going to be proofing at room temperature, 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, covered. It's probably going to take about an hour. So it depending on how cold your room is. If it's colder than that, it might take about 90 minutes. But the key visual we're looking for is for it to double in size. So while we're proofing the bread, we're going to jump into making the tsumai, meatballs. Specifically, these are going to be pork meatballs. So packed full of flavor with daikon radish, green onions, a little fish sauce, garlic, and we're even using cornstarch as the binder for them. They're tender, they're super flavorful. It's kind of a quick alternative to going through all the work to make like head cheese or a ham. It's kind of like this easy middle ground, but super flavorful and very rewarding. So let's jump into it. First up is going to be mincing scallions. So I like to split them lengthwise. Add the scallions to our mixing bowl. All right, next up, garlic. So this is going to add a really nice kind of allium funk to the meatballs. Next up, cilantro. I love the stems because it still is packed with flavor and has amazing texture. Next up, daikon. I love the texture, the flavor of it, as well as with all the water that's in here. It's a wonderful tenderizer, so you don't need to add egg. We're gonna mix up our base, everything except for the pork. We got white pepper and black pepper. Brings a little bit of heat, personality to it. Got a little bit of sugar, a little bit of added sweetness, salt, fish sauce. I like to add prog powder and cornstarch. It's gonna retain flavor, moisture, and it's gonna bind it together. So we have our base in here. We're gonna mix this up first. It helps make sure all the ingredients are evenly incorporated before you add the pork. So we're gonna roll up our sleeves and mix this up. One key visual I go to know it's evenly distributed is kind of the greens from the scallion or cilantro stems. If they're evenly distributed throughout, that's a telltale sign you're done mixing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna portion it all out on a grease tray. Now all we need to do is form them. What I like to do is dip my fingers in water. That helps them to not stick. You can also use non-stick cooking spray if you want. I like to give it a little squeeze first, then in the palms of your hand, gently roll them into a ball. So what we're gonna do is transfer these to the fridge to rest for a minimum of 30 minutes. Then we're gonna steam off later just before we serve the banh mi. Okay, now we're gonna shape and roll. So our bread has been proofing at room temperature for about 60 minutes or so. Look at that, it's doubled in size. So to get our station ready, again, we're gonna be using the stone. It's gonna be lightly greased. We got a ruler just to measure out our dimensions. We got our baguette pan right here. They're perforated. That helps with airflow and circulation, so you get nice toasty crust on all sides. All right, gently take it out one at a time. Keep your balls covered so you don't develop a skin. This is a shaping technique that's a riff on batard. Batard shaping method commonly used for French baguettes. A couple folds gets it into a nice round cylinder of sorts. So this is a method that's great for small or large batch productions where it's very fast, it's easy. It also degasses the dough, so you get a nice tight crumb structure and a little bit of a spiral that makes it easy to take out some of the bread to fill up your banh mi later on with even more goodies. Pulling it here, we gotta slap it down, pull it. So we're gonna anchor the base. You're looking for a long triangle. And pull it out about 14 inches. Okay, with a rolling pin, you don't need much pressure. Just let the rolling pin do the work for you. Roll it towards the base. Shape it back up. Starting off with 2 fingers. Just gonna roll, push, roll, push. So again, it's all about having a nice taut surface. And as you work down, it's gonna get wider. So you're gonna incorporate more fingers. So you're not going to want to actually push in the middle of the roll, just the sides. We're shaping the roll. So you get to the very end, pinch it down. Okay, so now we have a seam. We're going to pinch that together. That way it doesn't unravel during the final proofing process or during the bake. Okay, so we have the seam pinched. We're going to roll it up. So gently on the sides, using your palm, roll it towards you. Roll it towards you. So we're going for about 6 inches in length. Pretty much there. So we're going to transfer this to the pan, seam side down. Let's keep going. Okay, nice smooth surface to them, 6 inches in length, 1.5 inches between the rolls themselves and about 1 inch from the edge of the pan. If they're not perfectly smooth on top, that's okay. Those imperfections are gonna fix themselves as it doubles in size. So again, keep these covered about 1 hour. So with a little bit of downtime, might as well get ahead. This is a great opportunity to start prepping the fresh herbs and veg. So the herbs that we have here, cilantro, mint, and basil, Thai basil as an option. Again, in my opinion, I think there's no sense in just picking out individual leaves. A little bit of stem is gonna add more flavor, more texture. All right, let's add some mint. I do not like mint stems. Too woody for me. So next up, the jalapeno. The chili is gonna bring heat and it's gonna bring texture and a very fresh flavor that's gonna accompany the mint, the cilantro, and the cucumber really well. I like English cucumber because you can leave the skin on. It's a great texture, great flavor, very crisp. So now let's transfer the cucumber to our paper towel lined tray. That's gonna wick up any moisture that begins to pool. And also we have our super umami packed mayo. Last but not least, the pork liver pâté is just finished cooking sous vide at a low temperature. Love doing that because it reduces the risk of overcooking. We're gonna allow this to rest at room temperature for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then we're gonna transfer it to the fridge to fully cool. All right, so we have a pre-formed sumai. Now it's time to steam them. So we're gonna divide all the sumai evenly between 2 trays with roughly 1 inch spacing between them. So it's been about 12 minutes. Let's check and see if they're ready. Wicked tender, ready to be served. So we just finished with our final proof. Let's check it out. So they've doubled in size in about 60 minutes proofing at room temperature. They've completely filled up the baguette pan. The next step is we're gonna score them before we bake it. That's gonna help with oven spring, more rise, but scoring with a lame can be a little bit tricky. So because they're lightly humid, as you notice, they're kind of shiny right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pop it in the fridge uncovered for 10 minutes. That's gonna firm up the exterior and dry it out ever so slightly. That way when we go to run the razor blade across the top, it won't snag quite as much. So here we go. Now that our oven is preheated to 450, we're ready to go in with the bread. What's really important though is the very bottom rack, we're gonna have a sheet pan filled with water. That's gonna create a very humid environment. That humid environment is gonna help with the oven spring. All right, so now we've par-chilled our rolls. You'll notice the surface of it, nice and firm. It's dry, it's matte in color, it's not shiny and wet anymore. Now it's time to score. You're gonna be running along the top at a 45-degree angle, cutting in about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch or so. So now we're gonna spray them really good. That's gonna help with the oven spring and the humid environment of the oven. So the first half of the bake is all about humidity. That humidity is gonna help us get oven spring where it's gonna double in size during the bake. So it's gonna get even bigger. So what we do is in the bottom rack, we have a tray filled with water, introducing steam. We're gonna give it a little quick spray in the oven to add even more humidity. We're gonna quickly seal it up. Every 2 minutes, for the first 6 minutes of the bake, we're gonna be opening the door and giving it a quick spray to rehydrate the surface of the rolls. So the bread has finished baking, but for the very last minute or two, what I like to do is flip over the rolls to help with a little bit more browning on the bottom. That way you have an even crust all the way around. So they've already hit their target temp, so this last part of the bake should be very quick. So it's been 1 minute with the bread flipped over to help develop crust on the bottom. Let's check it out. Nice and golden. All right, cool. So we have a nice crust formed on the bottom, even color. Just as even nice brown crust that's formed. Nice and crispy. These are looking great. Now that we have our bread, let's build a sandwich. All right, you gotta be honest with me. Tell me how I did. The most important part, the bread, just
It's so
to make
cute.
Sure. I know, but
Ooh.
Can you hear that?
Oh man, yes. It's a sexy banh mi.
peels apart pretty well.
That's beautiful. The color is beautiful.
Awesome.
Oh, that crunch.
Does that seem right?
Yes, and you know what? The crust is very thin. That little pressure that you apply, can you do that again? Yes.
Kind of explodes.
Yeah. It's so exciting.
Yep. All right. Let's look at that in the form of a sandwich. What I did here, I broke some rules, Helen. Broke some rules. So we do have the pork liver pate in the bottom, jalapenos. This was the sumai. This was just steamed. I ended up using the daikon in there. I like that recommendation. The last rule I broke was I added a little mint in there. It seems like a preference thing, but
you know what? If you love it, you enjoy it, and it tastes good, then why not?
Kind of like a roller coaster where it's like you get these rich flavors and you get the heat, but then you get the vinegar and then the herbs that cleanse your palate, and you kind of just want to get back on that roller coaster.
And it comes and goes. It goes in little waves, the heat, right? You like just when you cool down, you bite it into it again, and it takes you back.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut it open, see what we're working with. All right.
That's beautiful. Look at those cucumbers.
All right, can you give me a score, Helen? What do you think?
I'm going to give it a 9. You know what I really like to see is that you'd like to see like that layer of pâté and mayo really just kind of overpouring, whether if it's not in the center when you're cutting it out, but at the very least at the end, you need to have it just overflowing on, one end or the other. I think that it needs to be very generous in terms of, the amount that you like really lather into that sandwich.
All right, I respect that. I'm going to load this up as much as I can. Thank you so much, Helen. I hope to see you soon. Better let you get back to your restaurant shift. Good to see you. Take care. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
So you don't want to slice all the way through your bread. You want to slice just to the back of it where there's a hinge still keeping it together. What I like to do is remove a little bit of the bread from the top. This is going to help create a balanced ratio of filling to bread. First layer, pork liver pate. As Helen said, load it up more. I want to see it come out the sides when you squeeze it. Next up, we're going to add our meat. So we got our smashed up sumai. We're just going to load this up. Now we're going to do the jalapenos. Fresh crunch. Okay, pop in our fresh cucumbers. Add our pickles. Over here, we're going to add our other creamy layer. Again, we're going to load it up just like we did the pate. All right, a couple dashes of Maggi and our fresh herbs. So I broke the rules, I added a little bit of mint, but I like it with mint. Just make sure you have some cilantro. Check it out. So we got our thin, crispy crust, about 1 centimeter of bread on all sides. We have our mayo and our pate on the bottom that are oozing out. We got our pickles, herbs, jalapeno, cucumber, and sumai in every single bite. So Helen gave me her opinion on it visually over Zoom, but you gotta try it. So let's have Sasha Marks here give a taste test to see if I hit the marks that Helen and I were going for. Definitely push the pate.
Going up on the pate, I love it. Like it seems like such a minor thing, but the like cut on the cucumber to me is like perfect. Of just like you really get the crunch of it, and it's like it's there. It's not sort of this afterthought. The eggshell thinness of the crust here is so nice.
Awesome.
No nuts. I have no nuts. It's delicious. I want a whole one of these. Helen, he did a great job.
Helen,
I swear.
It's the perfect sandwich. It has everything you want. It's fresh, it's spicy, it's acidic and sweet from the pickles, it's super creamy, tons of umami, springy, tender texture from the meatballs with lots of fresh herbs. The bread is delivering, the filling is delivering. This is the perfect sandwich. The banh mi.
Subscribe to our channel and visit chefsteps.com for more tips, recipes, guides, and tools to help you level up in the kitchen.